Greetings from Washington, D.C. I'm Peter Thomas, the General Counsel for the National Association for the Advancement of Orthotics and Prosthetics, NAAOP. Today is a fairly historic day in the sense that both the federal government has shut down as a result of Congress's inability to reach a deal on the appropriations levels for fiscal year 2014, and the Affordable Care Act, the majority kind of key provisions of that law, are going into effect across the country. It's an odd day because 800,000 federal employees have been furloughed and are out of work today at the same time that a very large new federal program is going into effect. Let me first take the fiscal year 2014 spending. There's been a significant debate over the last several weeks and months between the President and the Congress over the spending levels and what they would do in terms of the new fiscal year, which begins on October 1st. If, as it has proven, the Congress and the President are not able to agree on a compromised set of spending levels and don't pass any bill, the federal government must shut down until they do pass legislation to fund the federal government, and that's exactly what's happened. The problem is that there doesn't seem to be significant negotiations toward some kind of a compromise position. The House Republicans have taken a very strong stand against implementation of the Affordable Care Act and have linked that to a straight continuing resolution to fund the federal government through December 15th. The Senate, some of the Senate Republicans, in particular the conservative Republicans, have done the same thing. But ultimately, the Democrats run the Senate, they've got the majority, and they have voted to strip out any of the Affordable Care Act provisions from that spending bill, sending it back to the House and leaving us in a bit of a stalemate. As a result, the government currently is not functioning. But what does that mean for you? First off, we don't know how long the shutdown will last, and we don't know the real impact and effect that a long-term shutdown will have. What we do know is that Medicare payments to providers should continue. Claims processing should continue pretty much as is. Many of the contractors, Medicare contractors, have already signaled that they will continue to process claims and pay providers and for patient care in the normal course. Now, this may slow down. This may change if the shutdown drags on for weeks on end. But at least currently, the Medicare claims will continue to be paid. That's similar to Social Security. Social Security, like Medicare, is an entitlement program, and checks will continue to flow out to Social Security beneficiaries, even though there is a government shutdown. In addition, veterans. Veterans Administration is not considered an entitlement program, but they are considered essential employees, and so VA hospitals and patient care will continue during the course of the shutdown. It's not such a rosy scenario for many of the federal employees that perform many of the functions that we rely on a daily basis, whether or not they're conscious to us or not, or on our minds or not. For instance, NIH research. There's a whole host of research projects being run by NIH. No new clinical trials will be started. Thousands of NIH employees will be furloughed. Same for the Food and Drug Administration, same for many different agencies across the federal government, until the Congress and the President are able to agree on a spending measure to extend a continuing resolution to fund the federal government until such time as they can put into place a more lasting appropriations bill that will last through the remainder of fiscal year 2014 until next September 30th. In the meantime, the looming crisis before us is the debt ceiling. The federal government is again poised to exceed the amount that it is legally authorized to borrow to pay off obligations that have already been incurred. And so the Treasury Department estimates that October 17th will be the breaching of the current debt limit, and Congress and the President must agree on an alternative debt limit, i.e. an increase in the debt ceiling by that date, or risk the full faith and credit of the U.S. government. Once that occurs, once no increase in the debt ceiling occurs and we breach that limit, we will have defaulted as a country for the first time in history. And so the stakes are extraordinarily high. The negotiations have not been in full effect. In fact, there's very little debate and discussion taking place, contrary to the summer of 2011, which is the last time that this occurred. And so people are very concerned, obviously, and should be. The political system seems to have broken down to a significant degree, and it's really anyone's guess what's going to happen at this point. I should tell you, though, that on the juxtaposition of the ACA going into effect the same day that the federal government is shutting down really is quite ironic. Across the country, state-based exchanges and the federally facilitated insurance exchanges are open for business as of today. Millions, about 7 million Americans without insurance are expected to sign up under the exchanges for new health care coverage between now and March of 2014. There will be glitches. It'll be a rocky start. This is a massive federal program, but 85% of the dollars that fund the exchanges and fund the Affordable Care Act programs are outside of the normal annual appropriations process. And so the ACA reform, the implementation of the Affordable Care Act, or what some people call Obamacare, will in fact go into effect and is going into effect as of today. So it's a real conundrum. It's very frustrating for anyone who follows the process and hopes that people can come together and agree and compromise on good policy. We will continue to keep you informed as developments occur. Thank you for your time.